To the dismay of B'nai Mitzvah students everywhere, and of course to their guests, this week we begin reading the book of Leviticus, which is replete with instructions for ritual animal sacrifice in agonizing and too often gory detail. It's filled with guidance for how to treat a variety of skin ailments and other obscure topics that too often make the 13-year-olds blush and their older relatives fall asleep in the back pews. In this week's parasha, Vayikra, we read about the intricate system of sacrifices that once formed the centerpiece of Jewish worship. The text details burnt offerings, meal offerings, sin offerings, a comprehensive framework for how our ancestors believed they could draw close to God. And on some level, it does make intuitive sense. You burn something that smells pleasing to the senses, as Memphians, of course, understand better than most. It rises up to the heavens, and assuredly, it would be pleasing to God as well. And the very word for sacrifice, korban, it actually comes from the Hebrew root karov, which means to approach or to draw near. And this was how our ancestors felt that they could connect to God for over 1,000 years. But then, history intervened. The temple in Jerusalem, the epicenter of the korbanot, was destroyed not once, but twice. The sacrificial system, which had been the primary vehicle for our Jewish spiritual expression, suddenly became impossible to maintain. And this very well could have been the end of Judaism. It could have been our spiritual extinction. But instead, something remarkable happened. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, a student of Hillel, who lived during the destruction of the Second Temple, he had the courage and the vision to reimagine Jewish practice entirely. According to the Midrashic text, Avot de Rabbi Natan, when one of his students began to cry over the loss of the sacrifices, Rabbi Yochanan told him, "Do not grieve, my son. We have a means of atonement that is equal to sacrifice, the doing of kind deeds." And to our modern sensibilities, this seems just as desirable to God, if not much more, than, in the words of Jimmy John's, free smells. I thought that was funny. But the people had been accustomed to making 3 offerings per day, morning, afternoon, and evening. And so the early rabbis established a new daily framework, prayer that replaced the sacrifices. Shacharit, Mincha, and Mariv, the 3 daily Jewish prayers, took the place of the korbanot. And aren't those truly better ways of drawing close to God? As Rabbi Lance Sussman puts it, prayer, study, and good deeds are the eternal spiritual sacrifices on the altars of our hearts. And these early rabbis, in their extraordinary adaptation and renewal, were in many ways the first Reform Jews. They understood the essence, the ikar of Judaism, wasn't dependent on a specific ritual system. Rather, the essence was about our relationship with God and with each other. And this is precisely what Rabbi Hillel did when he was asked to summarize the entire Torah while standing on one foot. He didn't list the sacrifices or the rituals. He said, "What is hateful to you, do not do to your neighbor. The rest is commentary. Now go and study." He distilled Judaism to its most essential meaning. And this is what we as Reformed Jews continue to do today. We are constantly renewing our faith. We are asking what parts of our tradition still speak to our souls and our modern sensibilities, and what parts might need reimagining. We have renewed Judaism by insisting that men and women are equal in the eyes of God, against millennia of tradition that suggested otherwise. We have renewed Judaism by embracing interfaith families and LGBTQ individuals, understanding that the divine spark exists in each person, regardless of who they love. We have renewed Judaism by emphasizing tikkun olam, repair of the world, as a central value that calls us to work for justice and equality for Jews, of course, but also for all people. Just as our ancestors found ways to preserve their connection to God without the temple, so too have Jews throughout the ages found ways to maintain our connection to God and to each other, even as the world around us transformed. In this season of Passover, which we'll celebrate, as I said, just as next Shabbat ends, renewal, rebirth, springing anew to life, those are its central themes. The word for Egypt, where we were enslaved, the word in Hebrew is Mitzrayim, which literally means a narrow place or constraints. And the Exodus story is really about breaking free from these constraints, from emerging from a limited existence into one of possibility and promise. Passover calls on us to ask, what are the narrow places in our lives? What constraints have we placed on ourselves or have others placed on us? What changes do I need to make that are holding me back from living the life that I want to live? And what would it mean for each one of us to experience our own personal exodus? Maybe it's breaking free from unhealthy relationships. Maybe it's finding the courage to pursue a passion you've long denied yourself. Maybe it's letting go of anger or resentment that has long weighed on your shoulders. Maybe it is learning to be more present with the people you love instead of constantly rushing to do what's next. Whatever form your personal renewal might take, Passover reminds us each year that redemption from our struggles is possible. God redeemed our ancestors with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. And the sacrifices of your or our human attempts to reach out, to draw close to God. Today we find those moments of connection in different ways, in the quiet of prayer, in the joy of community and celebration, and in the satisfaction of helping others. We connect to God by standing up for justice, and most of all, in moments of genuine human connection. Just like Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, who reimagined Judaism when the temple fell, we too can adapt and renew ourselves while holding fast to what matters most. So no matter what we have built our life around, may we have the courage to change, to break free from our own narrow places and enter the expansiveness of renewal together. Ken Yiratzon, may it be God's will. Shabbat Shalom.